When Star Trek Discovery
Uh,
first aired in 20
Cal's been teasing it and already starting off strong with Star Trek Discovery. Oh god, all right. All right, let's check this out.
2017, it brought Star Trek its first ever explicitly gay main characters.
What do you think so far, Tony?
So explicitly gay character. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there were characters who had relationship with the same sex. I mean, I listed off one from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, right?
Yeah, but you see, before this character existed, none of those other characters mattered, Tony.
Right, of course, they're not a main character. My mistake. Okay, carry on.
They also didn't bring up their sex every 5 minutes.
Ugh.
It was a huge deal for the 50-year-old franchise.
Yes, but how were the, I don't know, character writing, storytelling? How were they as characters, not about their sexuality?
See, you're going to the wrong point. See, those things don't matter, Tony. Okay, all that matters is that whether or not these characters do something that can benefit their group of people.
I mean, listen, I'm fine with gay representation in media. I am. I really am. But you got to make sure the characters are well written and the story supports them as characters and not just representation for the sake of representation.
See?
Especially considering that Star Trek has always been about celebrating diversity. But did you know that this wasn't the first time Trek tried to tackle queer issues? And no, I'm not talking about the
I, yes, they dealt with ideas of s- same sexuality and all that. I think again, I believe I talked about earlier in regards to um, TNG, where Riker becomes it gets involved with a relationship with an androgynous sort of female thing, and like Star Trek used to do it in like a very clever way. You know, they were able to be very progressive while also writing that fine line of having great writing and also having a point to the messaging. But now it just seems like, well, they're gay because they're gay and that's their character. But yeah, is she? Oh God, is she gonna bring up the Sulu romance
You're gonna have
from
to wait and
Beyond?
you're gonna have to wait and see, Tony.
Oh my God, please
blink and you'll
no.
miss it nod to Sulu being gay in Star Trek Beyond, even though it was kind of adorable. No, Trek's history with
Oh my God. Oh Lord. Okay, where to begin with that statement? So, does does she know that the actor who played Sulu did not like it? Just because your character is straight, does just because your actor is gay does not mean you get to change a fundamental nature of a character to fit the original actor. And hell, Mr. Sulu himself did not like it. But like, listen, I got no issues with gay characters, but when you fundamentally change a character to be a different sexual orientation, it makes no sense. Because if you remember in Star Trek Generations, Mr. Sulu has a daughter. So are we just meant to assume that he adopted? Is that what we're drawing from the conclusion? Hmm?
I would say so. You know, we're gonna have to wait till to see where this video goes.
Let's continue on with
so
the
let's explore Star
video, shall
Trek's
we?
queer history. It's time to nerd out.
Queer history. Okay. All right. All right. If she's gonna go with that, let's go. Let's go. I'm fascinated by this video. I hope she brings across some good points. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. Let's go. Great production.
That didn't happen.
It did. Jesse
Back in
Gender.
1966, Star Trek burst onto the airways in living color.
Yes, it certainly did. It came with the man trap, I believe. I mean, granted, that was not the original pilot, but I believe the man trap was the first episode to be aired.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think they're trying to space this out.
Okay, so let's go on to the LGBTQ
Okay.
representation in
Yeah.
the history of Star Trek. Go for it.
Let's see where this goes.
Following the voyages of the USS Enterprise, Star Trek showed a vision of the future where humanity had overcome its differences in order to create a society that focused on exploration. Exploration not only of technology and the galaxy.
She's right. Yes, 100%. I agree with that.
As do I.
Yes, that
I don't
is
hear-
the.
See, this is why I say don't judge a book by its cover in general.
Yeah,
Yep.
so far, she's leaning me into it. I'm honestly, yes, she's describing the statements regarding Star Trek. Yes. I'm really looking forward to where the LGBTQ history of Star Trek is so far. But so far, yes, this has been a decent video so far.
But of what it means to be human. And one of the ways it tried to do this was by celebrating diversity. The main cast included a black woman, a Russian, and a Japanese American.
It seems like
100%. I agree.
it seems like as of currently we're just going over the synopsis of the show. So I'm assuming the actual subject matter will be further in.
For
It's
a show
coming in
made in
now,
1960s
but
America,
I do
which was dealing
like
with
that. Yeah, I'm really liking this little brief history and this synopsis of like representation of like having a black woman on the bridge, having a Russian during the height of the Cold War, having a Japanese person after what happened in the events of World War II. These are things that happen, and Star Trek was very smart back then. But the subject matter is going to be coming in soon, and that's where I'm a bit worried. But hopefully, she's able to turn it around. She's able to change my mind.
I like the inclusion of actual historical photos in like the video.
Yes,
I do
yes,
so
the
much
video
enjoy
is
that.
well presented. Yeah.
segregation, the Cold War, and the memory of the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. The idea that all these identities would one day not only coexist.
Yeah, I agree.
As do I. You know, I think it's I do like learning about history at the time when these shows were coming out. You know?
History
But
is
work
something we
together
need
for
to
the
remember.
betterment of humanity was a radical and much needed dose of optimism. Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry even stated,
Okay. She's bringing in Gene Roddenberry, so I'm really interested as to what she is referencing him to.
As long as it's not Eugene Roddenberry, I'm good.
Eugene is, I mean, he's very easy to push over and like, I guess, roll over uh Gene Roddenberry's like franchise.
that Star Trek was an attempt to say that humanity will reach maturity and wisdom on the day that it begins not just to tolerate, but to take a special delight in differences in ideas and differences in life form.
100%. Gene Roddenberry was ahead of his time. Individuality is very important now. Just because you have a different opinion does not make it that you need to change it. Having a diverse amount of opinions is brilliant. Just because I have an opinion that you may not like, if we can just break bread and have a beer and talk about it over, or have, I don't know, have a nice dinner over and just chat about something else like our love of Star Trek, our love of Star Wars, our love of art, media, anything.
Our love
Having
of
something in common, but you go.
just our love of sci-fi in general.
Yeah, 100%. I love sci-fi, but having some similarities, but overall having different political beliefs, different ideas on how things should be is what gives individuality a brilliance, I would say. What I aspire to really like. Me and Cal, we probably don't see a lot of things eye to eye, maybe politically, maybe this or that, but we both love Star Trek. We both love Farscape. We both love classic sci-fi. We both love art in itself.
I'm hoping the new
This
movie
is
is good
something.
for Farscape.
Hell yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
See? And from my volume level, it
Uh,
looks like I'm still coming in clear.
cool. On Sanya
Star
also
Trek was
says, given the tension from those time frames, I'm glad she's at least covering that much relative to. I just hope it's not a thin layer of conversation relating to what the title is. I hope so too. But then again, we
100%.
shall see with the rest of the video. Mm.
a show all about celebrating diversity, as well as tackling prescient issues of morality head on.
I remember we brought up that episode before, Tony. The
Mm. The half white, half black sort of face on both sides. That is a very pivotal episode when it comes to like race. And a lot of people on Twitter like bit at William Shatner on Twitter, and they were like, "Oh, don't you know it's social commentary and all that?" And I think William Shatner said it's allegorical. It doesn't mean it's actually what it is.
which is a fair point in general.
Just because the writers are smart in that they didn't have a white person and a black person come and go like they're the last of their race and they fight each other. That would have been so easy to do, and they probably would do it now. I'm gonna be real. That being said, Star Trek did the smart thing of having two allegorical people from the
Like
same race, but
like
just different sides of like that.
okay, like here's another issue, not necessarily Star Trek, but there was another show which I assume people have watched called The Twilight Zone. Now, I love The
Yeah.
Twilight Zone. I I own it on DVD and Blu-ray, and I've watched it up every episode umpteen times. I do not like Rod Sterling's politics.
But the show is good.
Yeah. Now Rod Sterling leaned more on the communist side of things, which I didn't agree with, and I don't agree with.
But it is his writing, his storytelling, his love of art, his love of, well, creating film, TV shows, and something that everyone can watch, whether you be a capitalist, a communist, someone in the middle. Everyone is your demographic when you're trying to appeal to something. That's why a lot of these things are getting mass appeal. Just because, like, listen, there are some movies and shows that are made for one demographic in mind. And those can do well. Those can admittedly do well. But let's be real. When you're going for the mainstream audience, you need to appeal to left, right, center.
It looks like the drop frames went a bat, and I'm sorry, but there's like a storm going outside, so I'm at least it's as low as it is right now.
All good, dude. Let's just continue on with the video, shall we?
These words and the words that follow were not written only for the Yangs, but for the Coms as well.
Corms.
They must apply to everyone, or they mean nothing. Do you?
Because on my screen it shows like 2.6% drop frames.
Yet Star Trek
I'm
touched
keeping
upon
an
a
eye on
breadth
the
of issues, including
YouTube
numerous
thing at the
topics of
moment.
race
It might
and
just be
politics
that we're
more
like in
directly
different
the public
locations of the
consciousness
world.
during the 60s. So the fact that it missed
Could you
clear
go back a
issues
bit?
was,
Sorry, I
while
think I missed a bit.
disappointing,
How far back?
Just about 10 or so seconds.
Got it. Okay, there we
Okay.
go.
Let's go. Yeah.
overtly tackled queer themes. Yet Star Trek touched upon a breadth
I was just saying it might be because we're in different areas.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that.
of issues, including numerous topics of race and politics that were more directly in the public consciousness during the 60s. So the fact that it missed
100%,
clear issues
yes.
was, while disappointing, only a minor knock against the importance of the show.
Okay, pause. A minor knock towards the show. Take the show for what it is and what it's not what you want it to be. Okay, they were able to tell amazing stories in regards to race, in regards to gender, ahead of its time, way back in the 1960s. It was probably arguably one of the most progressive shows back in the 1960s. It had the first ever on-screen kiss with a white man and a black woman. That is something unheard of. And the fact that she's saying, oh, it's a minor knock to not have any LGBTQ sort of thing. What are you talking about? Back then, it wasn't really much in the public consciousness because that was something that, back then, that was just a bridge too far back then. And listen, future series, they adapted with the times and all that, but they made sure to have the storytelling really well done. But the original series, for what it did, it was arguably the most progressive show at the time. And it was able to have amazing writing and characters. And yes, in this clip, I love this clip because risk is our business. The fact that Star Trek, the producers, risked a lot way back when, that is something awesome that they were able to do back then.
100%.
Risk is our business. That's what the Starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her.
Yeah, that speech, it still gets me because it is aspiring. The human race will go out in the stars and all that. Risk is what the human race is always good at. They've always pushed past that. And that is like, you don't get inspirational stuff like this now. Everything's so nihilistic and all that. Even Starfleet Academy, it's a time where, we had this terrible thing called the burn and all that. We have a generic action in the beginning. Great, but we don't, it's very nihilistic. And the lighthearted comedy in it is laughable. And it's trying to go for an optimistic tone. It's just not great at it.
That's fair.
However, when the franchise came back to television in the late 1980s and the early 1990s with Star Trek The Next Generation, LGBTQ issues were right in the middle of American politics and consciousness. Stonewall had occurred back in 1969, the same year the original Star Trek was canceled. The AIDS crisis was leaving hundreds of queer men and women dead weekly. Gay rights proponents held a national march on Washington in 1987. Don't Ask, Don't Tell was put into effect in 1993. That same year, Hawaii ruled that a ban on gay marriage may be against the state's constitution, one of the first states to do so. Queer issues seemed ripe for discussion on a show all about tackling morality issues of the day. Creator Gene Roddenberry
Yes, I
seemed to
agree.
agree, stating that there would
I agree with her. I mean, and I think that you can have really well done writing and all that.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. If anyone notices, off topic, but if anyone notices the stream going down in quality, I'm sorry, but there's like, it's raining pretty heavy. So,
be gay characters on the show in 1987. He also stated that, quote, "My attitude towards homosexuality has changed."
what do you think of this quote, Tony?
Okay, my attitude towards homosexuality has changed. I came to the conclusion that I was wrong. I was never someone who hunted down baguettes, as we used to call them on the street. I would sometimes say something anti homosexual off the top of my head because it was thought in those days. To be funny, I never really deeply believed those comments, but I gave the impression of being thoughtless in those areas. I have over many years changed my attitude about gay men and women, and I think that's fine to change. All right, you have you seen the original unaired pilot in the 1950s?
I have not.
So basically, he was already forward thinking back then, as on in the original pilot. I cannot remember the name of the title, but it basically has Captain Pike as the main protagonist, and the number one on the show was a female, and this was Gene Roddenberry's wife. Uh, and she would be expanded in Strange New Worlds, but back in the 1950s or so, 19 or early 1960s when that happened, that was huge. And it is cool to change. And if he has changed his attitude towards homosexuality, that's cool, man. I think that's cool.
I agree 100%.
Changed. I came to the conclusion that I was wrong. I would sometimes say something anti-homosexual off the top of my head because it was thought, in those days, to be funny. I never really deeply believed those comments, but I gave the impression of being thoughtless in those areas. I have, over many years, changed my attitude about gay men and women. Former original series star
Okay, she's bringing out Leonard Nimoy. I'm curious as to what he has to say. And these are all opinions by actors and creators of the show. I ain't that smart if she's going into history. I am curious as to what her views are in regards to this. She hasn't said any of her opinions thus far, only a little bit of the original series. I'm getting a bit nervous when we'll get to the modern stuff. But so far, I'm really liking the video.
Leonard Nimoy even offered his support for gay characters, stating, "It is entirely fitting that gays and lesbians will appear unobtrusively aboard the Enterprise, neither objects of pity nor melodramatic attention." In response, Star Trek writer David Gerrold
I agree. I agree. That quote is very apt. And I think towards the end of it, where it was neither objects of pity nor melodramatic attention, I think that's what you should do. But I have a feeling that when it comes to modern Trek, that's all it comes down to.
I agree 100% on all that.
A draft of a script called Blood and Fire that featured two male crew members in a relationship, set against an allegorical story about people suffering from AIDS. Yet, this episode never went into production. Gerald stated that this was because it was met with opposition from Paramount, who worried that since Star Trek The Next Generation aired during the afternoons in some areas of the country, children would see the episode, and gay issues was still thought of at that time as not something that children should see. Yet, some argued that office politics,
Yeah.
rather than the studio,
I think you should keep that separate for the time being. Let kids be kids. You can have it be allegorical, but like there is something that you just need to just separate just a smidge, you know. Also, Master Gal says, I don't care about his attitude change, but his comedic change is concerning. If it's funny, say it. Marginalized people be damned. That I agree with. That I agree with. If you have a funny joke, just say it. Jokes are funny. They're supposed to be offensive at times. Honestly, I'm fine with it. If you have a funny joke that is against my race, against my sexual orientation, this and that, I don't care. If it's funny, I'll allow it.
That is fair.
caused the script to never be produced. Some also pointed fingers at Star Trek executive producer Rick Berman. In the end, the promised gay character never materialized, despite Roddenberry reiterating to The Advocate that gay crew members
Can you
would
pause for a
appear on
sec? I hate the slander Rick Berman gets. Have you noticed that like Rick Berman, right? He's shot down some ideas, okay? For better or for worse. But like, you can't just like ragdoll them. I don't know what it is, you know? Like a lot of these modern don't want to say fans, because some of them have been fans since they were kids and all that, but like the slander that Rick Berman gets, I don't know. It feels like I get uncomfortable whenever I hear like Rick Berman slander. And granted, like I slander like Alex Kurtzman, and that's because he makes a bunch of crap that I don't like. But like Rick Berman has made some really good stuff. He made The Next Generation. He made Deep Space Nine. He made Voyager. He made Enterprise. He made the TNG movies. You know, this is a man who who oversaw the greatest era of Trek to date. He was able to solidify Trek to be a household name with, the Borg two-parter, the best of both worlds, all of these amazing things, all good things, being considered one of the greatest series finales of all time. And yet, he gets slandered because he shot down a couple of ideas in regards to like sexual orientation. Really? I don't know. I feel the disrespect he gets is a bit too much, in my opinion.
Since no one mentioned anything, I guess I agree. There's nothing more I could say with what you said, Tony.
show during the fifth season. Gene Roddenberry died
Also,
soon after that
Ansanya
interview.
says, Ansanya says it's a matter of understanding market too. If the vast majority of your audience in general is the just families, quite a bit of those families teach moral and values internally for better or worse. He brings up a fantastic idea because statement, because when you have a family you need to bring in family values. And listen, if you are a lesbian or a gay couple that have kids and all that, it's fine to teach them, whatever you believe in, all that, that's your prerogative. But for the vast majority, let's be real, it's same-sex couples. That is the vast majority. And like catering to a minority, that's fine. If you want to do I don't know, afternoon special, a couple of like allegorical things, fine. But you got to admit that like some of these storylines, they have to be made with the mass consumption in mind. Appealing to a minority is okay at times, but you shouldn't let that dilute the franchise to overtake it. That's why Star Trek is not really doing so well in the fact that they're catering to a small demographic than the demographic that actually watches the thing, which is older fans, like, I don't know, 50, 60-year-olds. And I'm a younger fan, but I'm going to be real. I watch the old stuff.
I agree. You know, like with a lot of people, I I find that with a lot of not just Star Trek, but with a lot of sci-fi shows, they when you look back, a lot of people find the need, and I'm not saying all progressives do this, but some progressives feel the need to hate on the original show because people don't like the new version of their show. Would you say I'm right,
Yeah,
Tony?
that's true. I've no like even in this video, you caught that at the beginning, right? With the whole snide comment when it comes to like, oh, just a little ding against the original series in regards to like, you know, sexual, LGBTQ issues, and I'm like, yeah, but you got to remember, this is like the 1960s. That was like at that time just a smidge too far. But like the fact that they're able to like handle identifications when it comes to like race and topical stuff like that, that's impressive for back then, and like shitting on that, like I don't know, shitting on something back in the old days because it doesn't have a political sort of like idea as much as you can have it now. It's you got to take it for what it is, not what you want it to be.
That's fair.
Rick Berman was given control of the franchise, and Star Trek wouldn't have an out queer cast member throughout his entire tenure running the franchise through 3 more TV series and several films. Ronald D. Moore, a former writer for Next Generation, as well as its spin-off Deep Space Nine and Battlestar Galactica, was quoted as saying, "This is one of those uncomfortable questions I hated getting when I was working on the show, because there is no good answer for it. There is no answer for it other than people in charge didn't want gay characters in Star Trek, period."
What do you think of
Okay.
this quote, Tony?
So I kind of get where he's coming from. At the same time, you got to know your audience. Star Trek was pretty much an all audience show. You got to like, and like back then, a lot of people were like, can we do this or not? Will they get pushback and all of that? Granted, Deep Space Nine, they dealt with a bit more LGBTQ themes, especially with that same sex kiss with Dax and all that. I thought that was tastefully done, for lack of a better word, as well as being very hot, I must say. But it was treated with well and respect. And when you get into a franchise just enough, just a bit further in, you're able to get away with a couple things more so than what you were originally able to do.
That's fair.
Paramount left us alone. They always left us alone. They wanted Next Gen to do what it wanted. The studio was not the problem here. Kate Mulgrew, the lead actress on Star Trek Voyager, also stated, "Star Trek is very strangely by the book in this regard." Rick
But
Berman,
since no
who is
one
a
brought
very
up any of
sagacious
the
man,
quality
has been
issues
very firm
for
about
this,
certain things. I've approached him many times over the years about getting a gay character on.
what do you think, Tony?
Listen, we're laying on the whole freaking attacks on Rick Berman. And like, maybe it's rightfully so. Maybe. Maybe.
Let me
But you
see how
cannot
far
question the man when it comes to like, how far are we in this video?
we got another 8 minutes.
Okay. So, like, when it comes to Rick Berman, right? The reason why you guys probably had so much freedom to do whatever you want, because the ratings were smash hit and all that. But he knew when to pump the brakes. He actively put restrictions on things because he knew that if he went just a bit too far, the studios will come in and they will hammer you on. Let's be real. We know what goes on. As soon as you make a bad product, as soon as you make something that doesn't do great in the ratings, the studios come in and they put the clamps on you. So Rick Berman, I feel like he knew how to play the game, and he was able to oversee again the greatest era of Trek. And Voyager was probably the most popular outside of the Next Generation because it was so episodic in nature.
That's that's fair. There's no right answer about this in general.
100%. There is no right answer to it because of the fact that this is an issue that like they had to face with back in the 80s, back in the 90s, you know, as there's a lot more gay lesbians and gays and queer people out there coming out and all that. That's cool. That's cool. But like when it comes to like studios and all that, they're always like a step behind. They're always a step behind.
The show, one whom we could really love, not just a guest star.
Now, here before we get into this, here's one thing I wanted to ask. How much do you think a lot of the newer things from shows is from studio interference, Tony? Much less writers. Or do you think it's a mix of both?
In regards to like sexual orientation or like writing or
Yeah, just bad writing.
see, I would say studio interference, but if you notice with a lot of studio interferences, the interferences that they have is they usually say, hey, cut this scene out, cuts this thing, chop this together, remove this and this. When it comes to a lot of the stuff we've been seeing, it does feel at its core, it does come down to the writer itself, not the studio.
Well, that's fair in general. I was just checking some things on the back. Let's see if I could get the bit rate to go up. I think it's just the storm for me.
We had
Fair
blacks,
enough.
Asians, we even had a handicapped character. And so I thought, this is now beginning to look a bit absurd. And he said, in due time. Some have taken these
It
quotes
says
to
no one's
insinuate
mentioned
that Rick
it. I
Berman
guess
was the
it's
lead
not that big of
figurehead
an
behind
issue, right?
keeping queer representation off of Star Trek, though it's never officially been
Yeah,
confirmed.
it doesn't
And
seem
while
like
it's
it. Could
fair
you
to
go back a
criticize
bit,
Rick
Cal?
Berman
Because
for
I want go back to the in due time part because like Rick Berman knew,
Right
right?
here.
He knew that in due time this was going to be accepted. All right, he knew. Okay, and I feel as though that even though Kate Mulgrew was pushing this because a lot of these actors are very progressive, and that's fine. That's their opinion. But Rick Berman knew that he needs to be like, listen, it's not exactly time yet, but we will push it through because he knew how to play the game. He knew it was coming. And when it was generally widely accepted, sure, you can slowly add it in organically and to fit the story, fit the characters, fit the writing. That's how you're supposed to do it.
we had blacks, Asians, we
Everything
even had
good?
a handicapped character.
cool.
And so I
Yeah,
thought,
I'm just
this is now
gonna-
beginning to look a bit absurd. And he said, in due time. Some have taken these quotes to insinuate that Rick Berman was the lead figurehead behind keeping queer representation off of Star Trek, though it's never officially been confirmed. And while it's fair to criticize Rick Berman for his decisions, it's also worth noting that he may have faced pressure from other influences, such as the world at large, that did not have many representations of gay characters on television at that time. It also should be
Yes.
noted that Rick
Okay,
Berman did
alright.
help facilitate numerous storylines that touched
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Jesse is really winning me over. It sometimes it's not just Rick Berman who is the reason for everything to be failing. You know, Sometimes it's other factors like studio heads. Sometimes they are being pressured and all that. Sometimes it's not just one evil guy that people just point at and be like, hey, listen, he is the problem with all of this and why I didn't get it. You can't just do that. It is other factors than that. And I'm gonna be honest, she's winning me over so far. Like, so far, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with this video.
That is fair.
Oh, actually, before you begin again, I will point out with Onsanyo, he did say, and I think this is also true. The other issue, and that actually ties in with what Jesse said. The other issue that comes with writer versus studio is if the writer goes entirely against what the studio wants, you can indeed be blacklisted. This is their lives at risk too. 100%. You are writing a product that is going to be seen by millions of people. Maybe like back then, millions of people. And if you do not do well, the studio sometimes will blacklist you for being a failure. That is how it is. And back then, when you were blacklisted, you were blacklisted. Now, there are some exceptions to the rules in regards to who is fine. And honestly, like back then, when you were blacklisted, you were done.
Oh yeah, back during like what is it, the 70s, 50s, the 70s. Yeah, and to be fair, even in the modern day, it sometimes still happens where people get kicked out of the industry because you don't like they don't like what you have to say.
I'm often reminded of this one actor. I cannot remember his name, but he was in a Star Trek movie, Star Trek First Contact. Um, and he's been a popular TV actor. I cannot remember the name of him, but he was very famous for refusing to kiss or have a sex scene with another woman. Okay. And the reason why he refused is because he was married and he got blacklisted. You know, Blacklisting's a real thing. And,
I don't
if
think
they
he
see
was in
you
a
as
Star.
problematic,
I don't think it. Star Trek. I don't know the actor you're talking about, but I do know Kevin Sorbo got blacklisted for something like that. But in yeah, there it.
so I have so let me uh get the actor's name. Neil McDowell, McDonald,
McDonough. Yeah,
um
McDonough.
McDonough. Yeah. So whenever like I hear that story of him, I'm like, that sucks. You stand by your beliefs and you get bit by that. That's fucking
I mean,
like
you could just
sad,
use
man.
the actual term, which is get shafted.
Mm, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what was the? There was another big one. Shoot. Maybe I don't know how many people are in the chat, but like maybe somebody would know. Who's the director of the Boondock Saints?
Hold on, let me search up the Boon Docs Saints. Troy Duffy.
Troy Duffy. So, if I remember correctly, a couple like years ago, after Boondock Saints 2 came out, Troy Duffy was supposed to direct, and he didn't say what movie it was, but he said it was a woke movie, and he told I think it was Fox at the time. He told them no, he wasn't interested. So they blocked every deal he had for other projects going forward.
See that's not right. That's fucked. That what that reminds me of? Remember Michael Ironside? Like he was blacklisted from like every Jerry Bruckheimer movie because he refused to like do one movie for him. Now that's the sort of like pettiness you could find in Hollywood because if you just don't do this one thing. Also, Master comes in with a Honkai Impact, I think. Almost everyone in Honkai Impact the third is a lesbian. They kill off the only straight girl, yet the game gets no awards for representation. I don't know, man. Things are wild in regards to like how when it comes to like brownie point system. I don't know how it is nowadays. It's just weird.
That's fair. Let's continue on.
Touched upon queer issues throughout his time on Star Trek. In 1992, The Next Generation aired.
Hold on. Okay, sorry, my stream went down. It said the content is unavailable, but I just reloaded. The stream is still fine, so that's on my end.
Oh, that one's
So
on your
yes,
end?
let's continue.
I got like
Yeah,
47.
it's on my end.
I got 47K drop frames on my end.
Okay, well, it was on my end, and so far it's good. It's back to
But,
it's back to
at
being
the bright
100%
side,
good.
it looks like my connection does hop back, so it shouldn't be that bad.
All right, that's good. Let's continue on.
Cast, which featured Commander Riker falling in love with Soren, a member of an androgynous race. I've done a previous
Yes,
What do you think?
yes,
so far?
So far she's bringing up the right points, but then again, this is all about the best era of Trek. I'm really concerned where it goes from here.
I see it cycling back towards there's I say I agree with like 78% of the video. I don't care for the snide comments of like old directors and writers.
Yeah,
That I'm not a fan of.
yeah, 100%. You can't just blame a writer or an actor or any of this, just because it's I don't know. You can have your opinions on the person and all that, but at the same time, you got to acknowledge that they oversaw the best era of whatever you got to say. Unless they came up with some shit ideas for like movies and shows, then there's something to be said.
video on this episode and how it both succeeded and failed in showcasing gay and transgender issues. However, importantly, many, including Riker.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's a video for another time because I'm honestly curious as what it fails at. I mean, she's transgender, so maybe she might have her point of view on things, but I am curious as to what she has to say about it.
Actor Jonathan Frakes took issue with the fact that the androgynous race was only played by women, which resulted in the show not actually featuring the first male-only kiss in the series.
You know, I can kind of understand where Frakes is coming from as an actor and all that because hey, listen, who he's had to kiss a bunch of chicks in his time. And maybe kissing a dude is something new for the guy. Maybe he just wanted that. But like, listen, when you have the androgynous people be represented as females, there is something to be said, unless you want all of them to be represented as guys and all that. And like, I don't know, man. This was seen by kids, you know? They shouldn't be like witness to some of these stuff yet. Okay? When they get older, sure. Hell, even Deep Space Nine, where it's a bit more mature, then yeah. Why would transgenders even exist in in the future? The thing is, though, Master Gal, is that in the future, if you wanted to be a female, I'm assuming in the future, you could possibly just be a woman. You can, I don't know, do some technology to be like, hey, I'm a woman, and that's it. There is that.
Yet Rick Berman hoped that the episode would end the criticism about, quote, the gay issue. In 19
What are you thinking so far? What are you gonna like? To
That
agreement
is
to
a
agreement to disagreement through this whole video. What do you think, Tony?
this is probably the only time like the disagreement I have with it with the whole gay issue thing.
Yeah.
I just like there is no gay issue, okay? There is no gay issue. Like, can we just move on from this? I don't understand. Like, because you wrote an episode, like, what? I'm so confused with her
1995, Deep
point.
Space Nine featured an episode where the character Jadzia, who remembers past lives due to her being a joined trill, considers reuniting with a female partner and lover from a past life, which is
Yes.
a taboo.
Yes, yes, this is an episode that I really enjoyed. It was really well done and executed. How is she going to say it doesn't do it well? I am curious.
So here's what I'm gonna say about Deep Space Nine. I like the whole show from beginning to end. And I know not everyone likes the end to Deep Space Nine, but in the great scheme of things, it is by far my favorite show.
Of Star Trek?
Yeah.
I think Deep Space Nine is possibly no, it is the best Star Trek show. It's not my favorite, but I can agree that from beginning, middle, and to some extent the end, I think Deep Space Nine is one of, if not the best Star Trek shows. But did you hear the potentially alternate ending that Deep Space Nine could have gone down?
What's the alternate ending?
Um, it could have been all a dream. Like that was an idea that was floating around, and I think Rick Berman was the one who said, "I don't think you can do that." And like, I agree that a lot of the best things when it comes to Star Trek was Deep Space Nine. We got the Dominion War
Taboo in Trill
out of
society.
that. Something so amazing. Like the TNG movies didn't capitalize on that. When Insurrection was probably in the middle of it, could have been a fantastic way to bridge in the Dominion War.
The taboo, however, was not about same-sex issues, but about being with a lover from another lifetime. While one could alternatively read this as both progressive and also behind the times, the episode did feature a female-only kiss, which led to the episode being given a rating higher than the show's normal PG. However, the episode also skirted the issue of whether Jadzia was bisexual or not.
Okay, pause. So right there, okay, Rick Berman probably knew that. Like, listen, they changed the rating of it over a same-sex kiss. So Rick Berman knew that if he had Riker kiss a dude, the rating would go up, and kids will probably not watch it as much. Okay, that man, he's ahead of the curve. He knew. Okay, regardless on what you think of the man knew how to play the game, and he played it well. For me, I think Rick Berman is probably the Garrick of the fucking Star Trek universe. He knew how to play the game, and he did it well. Also, can we just appreciate that kiss? My God, those two actresses. Oh.
Smoke show.
Onsanya says, my sleep meds are kicking in. Tony, Cal, chat, and have a good night. I'm off and hit the hay, finally. Have a good one, Onsanya. Have a good sleep, my dude.
let's finish this video out and then go into the
not.
Starfleet.
A similar situation
Talk.
involving the Trill also.
And since you're watching the stream, are you noticing any dip in quality?
I haven't noticed any dips or anything like that. No issues.
Occurred on a previous
then
episode of The
I'm
Next
aware of it.
Generation, but with the former partner turning down the invitation to be in a relationship with the joined
Hours
Trill.
in.
Later, in 2003,
I think I might
Star Trek
turn
Enterprise
hardware
had an episode
acceleration
called
off
Stigma,
for
which
the next
featured an
episode.
allegory for the
Okay.
AIDS epidemic for World
that
AIDS
should
Day.
boost
However,
it up,
Rick Berman
think.
stated that, quote, Stigma was supposed to be our gay episode, but we sort of copped out. Additionally, an episode
And
of
then
Deep
again,
Space Nine
I'm
also
having a heavy
featured male
storm right now,
character,
so
Quark,
that's
being surgically altered to
knocking
become a
down my
woman, and did
even
feature the
That's
first
fair.
kiss between male actors in the franchise. But this was mainly played for laughs, and was widely criticized for being transphobic, by continuing the stereotype that trans women were only trying to trick men, among other reasons. It also doesn't help that the episode is considered to be one of the
Really?
worst written Deep Space Nine episodes ever made. However, Deep Space Nine also featured bisexual characters in the show's mirror universe, but this was also criticized for continuing the stereotype of bisexuals being evil or promiscuous. Other episodes
Oh Lord.
Do you think I'm pausing enough?
Oh
Tony?
Lord. What?
You think I'm pausing enough where it won't get claimed?
Uh, well, the stream is still going on, and worst comes to worst, you can put a blur effect on it if
Yeah.
it pops up with that. But like,
throughout the
oh
franchise made
good Lord, like so far this, oh gosh, she's bringing up things where I'm like, oh boy, I know this is a history, but you're letting it show. You're letting it show.
tangential mentions to queerness as well, though none as directly as those episodes. While it should be noted that all of these episodes of Star Trek received criticisms for failing on some level, it also provided some representation for LGBTQ people in a time where many were starved for that representation. While certainly these episodes are not above criticism, the importance they held for many, including myself, cannot be understated. Seeing Jadzia kiss a woman meant a lot to many lesbian Trek fans. I myself remember rewatching
and let me say, that scene, it meant a lot to me when I first saw it. Let me tell you, good Lord. Whew.
It meant a lot to 14-year-old Tony.
Hell yeah.
Ah!
But like, you know, it's something that is like, you gotta deal with this respect and all that, because like Star Trek pushed the envelope a lot. And like, say what you will from the LGBTQ community, but you know, they were getting representation now. Also, Mastergal says, I have an infinite appreciation for lesbians, as do I, Mastergal. As do I.
Correction. Hot lesbians.
Yeah, those kind.
Tony's hoping for that Jessica Alba like lesbian scene.
I mean, I'm open to it.
cast over and over again because it gave me a safe way to understand that I was transgender. While certainly the failings of the Trek
Okay, she's bringing her personal aspects to things. And if she transitioned willingly, awesome. I'm so happy that Star Trek was able to help you come to the terms of transitioning. That's awesome, okay? Good on you. But you know, some of your opinions I disagree with a bit, but for the most part, the video has been pretty good so far.
franchise and perhaps Rick Berman should be discussed, we should not overlook the series' important, if sadly too few, successes. On top of that, queer issues found their way into Trek in less overt ways, notably in the books or video games. Gene Roddenberry included references to bisexuality in his novelization of Star Trek the Motion Picture. Other Trek novels revealed characters' sexuality, such as showing that Star Trek First Contact character Lieutenant Hawk was gay. Several LGBTQ characters appear exclusively in the numerous
that was the one we were talking about earlier. Neil McDonough. Yeah, yeah. If they revealed him to be gay in like in a book and all that, that's cool. No, that's cool. I thought he was a cool character in the movie. But making him gay in a book and all that, hey, it adds
I
to it
mean,
adds to the character. It doesn't take away from him.
are you a fan of the books, Tony, or not?
I don't really, I haven't read a lot of the Star Trek books. I must admit,
novels in the Trek
I really
expanded
want to get
universe,
into
such as a
reading more
hermaphroditic
books.
I mean, the comics wouldn't be a bad idea. I've heard there's been some good comic runs for Star Trek over the years.
and bisexual
Yeah,
character
I heard there's a
Orgagoni
couple good
in the
ones.
best-selling Star Trek New Frontier series. The Andorian species were also revealed.
How far are we in this? 4 minutes.
To have 4 genders instead of just 2. And on top of all of this, in 2005, original series actor George Takei came out as gay. And quickly
I
became
mean, I
one
feel
of the
like we all
most
knew that
prominent
George Takei was
LGBTQ
gay, but you know what? It is what it is.
celebrities in the country. The 2016 film Star Trek Beyond paid homage to Takei by making a small reference to show that the character he had originated.
How do you feel about that,
But he
Tony?
didn't like it. He didn't like it. He didn't like that. Is she gonna touch on that?
No.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I need to pull it up. Hold on. Because, man, that requires context. Because he did not like it. Um, here, here, right here. George Takei, who played Sulu in the original Star Trek series and is an LGBTQ plus advocate, deemed the decision to make Sulu gay in the 2016 film Star Trek Beyond as quote unquote unfortunate. Or to go a step further, as he says, I think it's really unfortunate. While delighted to see a gay character in the franchise, Takai argued it was a twisting of creator Gene Roddenberry's original vision, as he believed the character was designed as straight. You cannot do that when the actor, you can't just say, oh, we're paying homage to the actor. Yeah, well, when the actor says that is disrespectful, what are we doing?
That is fair.
So how long on this video do we still have?
Oh, and I also figured out why BMO was hearing an echo earlier.
Oh, okay.
So apparently I was supposed to mute the browser source for OBS.
Fair enough.
Well, we know that next time. And we'll load up Vito Ninja next episode. You asked how far we're in?
Yeah.
We got 3 minutes.
All right, let's get through this
Was
unless
gay.
there's any
Takei
video footage
criticized
of
this decision,
this show.
as he
movie.
stated that he played the character as straight.
Okay, so she does. Yes. Okay, so he does. So she does bring that up. I'm thankful that she does.
Let's read the quote, and I will fast forward through this. I'll skip past this.
Oh, you pausing? Or are you continuing with the video?
Yeah. Did we say the quote yet or not?
Uh,
I can't remember.
Okay, no, I haven't said it yet. I'll say it. I hope instead that Gene Roddenberry's original characters and their backgrounds would be respected. How exciting it would be instead if a new hero might be created whose story could be fleshed out from scratch rather than reinvented. To me, this would have been even more impactful. 100%. George Takei got that. Say what you will about his politics, but man, he nailed it right on the head right there. If you want to create a gay character, create it from scratch. Do not substitute it. That's not the way it goes.
Okay.
Instead, that Gene
This. Think we should be far enough now.
All right, cool.
explicitly gay main characters in the franchise on Star Trek Discovery.
Don't do anything that's stupid
Ah,
ever again.
I hate
You
Discovery
may not
so
care
much.
about you, but I do.
Okay, we get it, but like,
You sure you feel okay?
I don't remember their character or stories. I
Yes,
don't know.
dear doctor. I feel okay.
How's that dialogue there, Trinia, Tony?
Let's just move on, man. I'm getting an aneurysm
However,
just
one
listening
would
to
be
this.
incredibly remiss to ignore the power of Trekkies, as Trek fans had built a queer community around Star Trek long before Discovery, and also led to the creation of one of the largest genres of fan fiction, slash fiction. Slash fiction is fan fiction that focuses on
Oh
romantic.
God. Oh Lord, hold on. I am going to step out of my chair for a sec because she did not just bring in freaking fan fiction in this. Did she? Cal, tell me this is a joke. Tell me you just added this on. Tell me she's not bringing up freaking fan fiction in this.
He's
Cal,
bringing up fan fiction.
please
in
tell
this.
me.
It's not a joke.
Fuck's sake. Oh my
or
God.
sexual
All right, I'm sitting back down.
Like some of this art
Oh
here,
my
Tony.
God.
relationships between two fictional
Jesus
characters of the same
Christ.
sex. And Kirk's
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe she's bringing up fucking fan fiction.
Spock was one of the
And you know what's
first ninjas.
funny? Master Gal says, I think it's funny that these people are so weak they need a sci-fi show to validate their existence. Imagine being that much of, dare I say, a fan to create fan fiction of two dudes freaking bumming. I like. I don't get like what. Look, fan fiction has its place, 100%. If you want to read stories about like two characters that never got together, but that you think you should, you can read that on like fanfiction.net or something like that, whatever. But like bringing up in a video in regards to the importance of Star Trek, I don't know, man. Talk about the shows and the context of how they are dealt, in not in this. I don't know. Make a separate video for fan fiction. I don't know.
Slash stories that appeared all the way back in the 1970s.
You liking some of this art here, Tony?
This is some really. I don't know. Even the art's like not really getting me. It's like.
Slash fiction has grown to be
not
an
liking
incredibly
it.
powerful force for the formation of queer identity.
Holy Christ, man.
Just so you know, Tony, I'm going to fucking clip this shit and put it in a video.
Oh God.
You want that footage of you crashing out over here, Tony?
I'll get around to viewing it later, but probably.
representing a, quote, resistance to the expectation of compulsory.
Jesus, hey Christ! I'm sorry. I'm gonna take my headphones for a bit, cause like, what am I, what am I fucking looking at, man? This, oh my god, what is it? Why are we talking about freaking fan fiction in this? Come on, man. Come on.
Heterosexuality slash fiction, both in Trek and other fandoms, allows fans to explore identities and sexualities that the official series could never or would never touch. It also provides, as Joanna Russ stated, a
I literally have no words. I I have no words for this shit. And Master Gala says it right. I have no issue with people being gooners, but it shouldn't be part of the official conversation. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that one, buddy.
way to marry both masculine traits with supposed feminine traits like emotional vulnerability. In 1972, the first sexually themed Star Trek.
Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. I can't believe this, man. What is this video? What has this devolved into? You started off so well, Jesse. You started off so well. So why are you going with fucking fan fiction? What are we doing? What are we doing here? Oh Lord.
Grupp was published. Grupp's third issue featured the first publicly.
Oh my God! What? You're gonna have to blur that one. Keep going. You keep going.
Published Star Trek
You're gonna have to
fiction.
blur
Star Trek
it.
has also had a strong community of fans who make their own fan films, or low-budget Trek films, episodes, or series. Star Trek Hidden Frontier featured numerous queer cast members, and the famous Star Trek Phase 2 actually released a two-part episode that adapted David Gerrold's unproduced Next Generation script, Blood and Fire.
Guess who?
On top of that, several fan groups were created to fight for queer representation in Star Trek, including Sea Trek Love and Voyager Visibility Project. So, in the end, it's clear that Trek has had a very long,
after this
if often
episode
tumultuous,
ends, I'm going to
relationship with
delete
queer
the video.
community. While the series certainly took its time
And then I'm gonna
to give us our
re-edit
first
it.
gay cast members, and still has a ways to go, the joy of the franchise is that it's always working to show a better future for humanity. Star Trek may not have always succeeded in allowing everyone to take part in that bright future, but it always works to better itself, and sometimes, in the end, actually gives us a glimpse of who we might be one day. As the great bird of the galaxy Gene Roddenberry once said, it is the struggle itself that is most important. We must.
Okay, so gonna be real. She's sort of pulling it back towards the end, and I kind of appreciate that. But like bringing in fan fictions and even fan films, don't, I don't know, man. That just feels weird. And I like Star Trek Continues. I consider that canon, but even then, I wouldn't say like in an official video of if I was going to talk about the history of Star Trek, I wouldn't really talk about fan films or fan series. And Master Gal says, I hate the word fandom. It has a negative connotation to me. Fan fiction isn't the author's voice, so it shouldn't be considered. Thoughts, Cal?
Yeah. So what was Gawa's quote or comment?
So he said, I hate the word fandom. It has a negative connotation to me. And fan fiction isn't the author's voice, so it shouldn't be considered. What are your thoughts on both of them?
I don't think so. I agree that fan fiction shouldn't be considered in general. It's look, if these franchises were not in such a bad place that they are, some of these fan fictions are better written. Like, if we take Star Wars, for example, there are fan films that are better than what Disney is putting out.
100%.
If the writers were up to snuff for our favorite franchises, there wouldn't be such a discourse of look at how great this fan film is. Look at how it captured what fans wanted. I I've heard this quote years ago and I can't remember who I heard it from. Your favorite franchise in the modern day is undergoing a corporate identity, wearing it like a skin suit. Which
I think that's pretty accurate.
which I could be wrong on this, but I don't think a lot of these shows are even um pitched originally as these shows. They just tack the property on to write what they want. Would you say that's right?
100%. Yeah. I I'd say that's 100%. A lot of these shows, they feel like they started off as something else and then it got turned into a franchise show because it needs that extra boost to push their own sort of like ideas and all that because it wouldn't be accepted as its own show. In regards to the whole fandom word, I'm 50-50 on that as I think fandom is great. I am a fan. I have been a part of fandom. I was a Doctor Who fan. I was part of the Doctor Who fandom. I'm part of the James Bond fandom. But the word is being twisted now, and it just feels wrong to say. I don't know what it is. I think it's because that we have so many different products now that are just not good that being a part of that fandom is hard to accept, I suppose.
To be more than we are. It does not matter that we will not reach our ultimate goal. The effort itself yields its own reward.
Looks like that's the end of the video, Tony.
All right, so I really liked the beginning. Snide comments I didn't really like, and I liked the end of it. I liked a good majority of this video.
You know
I
what?
don't think you should have.
I'll leave a comment and I'll say what I
You gonna like the video?
I'll leave a comment about it underneath later. I'll give it a like because I liked 85% of what was there.
Yeah, no. I am glad that she didn't stick up for Berman as such, but she did give enough to be like, hey, listen, sometimes it's not just one guy. I appreciate that because Rick Berman gets a lot of hate from people. I have real that always rubs me the wrong way, just blaming it on one guy. But I just the video was pretty good. It was very well made, very well edited. I quite liked it. But there are some parts where I'm like, not really for me. Master Gal says, I think these people just come in and ruin franchises because their own characters and shows would instantly flop even harder than the shows they are currently sinking. 100% agree. That's probably why they do. That's why they don't come up with anything original. They want to sink whatever there is. Also, I like the 11th Doctor. The others don't exist to me. I love the 10th Doctor. I love the 9th Doctor. I love early modern Who era. I even love the originals. I know that the 11th Doctor has a lot of fans. But yeah, that was a good video. Thank you for sharing with that, Cal. I thought a good majority of it was good.